Welcome back to the Circularity Catalyst podcast. I'm Ken Alston. Today's episode is a little different. It's part culture reflection, part personal story, and part urgent call to action. And it all begins with a surreal British film from the 1970s, Oh Lucky Man. Back then, I was president of the Brunel University Student Film Society. Cinema wasn't just a hobby, it was my passion. I even wrote and delivered a 6-week lecture series on the history of animation. And one film that left a deep impression on me was Oh Lucky Man. It's Lindsay Anderson's extraordinary satire starring Malcolm McDowell. It was outrageous. It was thought-provoking. And threaded through the film were original songs by Alan Price. One of those songs has echoed in my mind ever since. Sell, sell, sell. Even back then, I felt its resonance. Price wasn't just writing a catchy tune, he was holding up a mirror to society. He was exposing the relentless push of consumerism, even back then. The way that everything, products, principles, even people, was packaged, marketed, and sold. The satire was both beautiful and horrific. It made you laugh, but it also made you uneasy because you recognized the underlying truth in it. And that truth, that the constant refrain of sell, 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 would one day become the background noise of all our lives. And here we are. Half a century later, we're living in the reality that Alan Price warned us about. Consumerism isn't satire anymore. It's the global system. The push to buy more, waste more, upgrade faster. It's become the soundtrack of modern life. And the consequences we know are devastating. Climate disruption, biodiversity loss, waste mountains, fragile supply chains. I could go on and on and on. We've built a way of living that's unsustainable by design. And yet, in the middle of this crisis, there's a movement to ridicule sustainability. The argument goes something like this. Look at how much better off we are thanks to the free market. Look at the advances in health, prosperity, technology. Look how cheap things are compared to decades ago. And yes, there's a truth in that. Economists use something called time pricing. It measures how many minutes of work it takes to buy everyday goods. And by that measure, today's worker can buy far more food, energy, and technology for fewer hours of labor than their grandparents. But here's the catch. That story is dangerously incomplete. Because alongside those advances, millions are still living in poverty. Regulations that protect people and ecosystems are being dismantled, and tax breaks keep tilting towards the already wealthy. And even more importantly, those rosy affordability measures ignore all the external costs. The unintentional but undeniable environmental and social consequences of endless production and consumption. So yes, the free market has delivered prosperity for some, and I'm a big free market proponent. But it's also outsourced the costs to future generations, to vulnerable communities, and to the planet itself. And this is why we need a new story. One rooted in stewardship. Because nature operates differently. In ecosystems, nothing is wasted. Everything is reused, repurposed, regenerated. That's the score we should be following. And that's what my colleague Rachel Sheila Khan and I call real circularity. Here's how we describe it now. Real circularity is the science and practice of sustainable circularity. It's about designing and iterating towards safe, infinite cycles, not just for products, but also across business models, finance, ethics, customer adoption, and physical systems. Never siloed, always systemic. And while that may sound a little technical, at its heart it's very simple. It's about building a world where business, people, and nature thrive together, because the cycles of life and commerce reinforce each other instead of undermining each other. Looking back, I realized that as a student, sitting in those screenings, hearing Alan Price sing "Sell, Sell, Sell," I was beginning to sense something important. Even before I had the language of sustainability or the circular economy, I understood that our first act of stewardship must be to resist the endless chase of consumption. That early spark has stayed with me throughout my career, guiding my work with businesses, with designers, and leaders all around the world. And it's what Rachel and I are codifying together in Real Circularity, to give leaders and innovators a practical way forward. So when I listen again to Alan Price singing "Sell, Sell, Sell" today, I don't just hear a song, I hear a warning echoing across decades. And I hear an invitation. It's an invitation to change the chorus, to move from sell, sell, sell to use, reuse, renew, from consumption to stewardship, from fragility to resilience. If this resonates with you, I invite you to explore the ideas further. You can read more in the book I co-authored with Rachel, Real Circularity. It's available on Amazon. Or you can reach out to me directly for a signed copy. And if you'd like to connect and collaborate with others who are putting these ideas into practice, join us at circularitynetwork.com. Because the real goal of sustainability was never just to save the planet. It's to sustain the conditions for life on Earth, for all species, forever. I'm Ken Alston, and this has been the Circularity Catalyst podcast. Until next time, stay real with real circularity.